Sunday! Every Sunday, side by side at the microphone, from the green light to the speed trap, Ray Carino and Joe D calls them as they seize them, and you better believe them. Hear relevant news, biased opinion, and outright nonsense regarding every aspect of automotive culture. Gasp! It's mechanical trickery never before broadcast over FCC-regulated airwaves. Thrill to the explosive tension as Ray and Joe cuss each other down track, barrel roll across the finish line, laughing at certain disaster as they shake hands with the devil. All that and so much more at high noon this Sunday on the Motormouth Radio Hour. Call in and speak live with the Wizards of Speed and the Live Eat, Ray Carino and Joe D. Bring the whole family. Kids under 12 get in free. Every Sunday at noon on WHBC. Take the Hempstead Turnpike to the Meadowbrook Parkway and look for the no parking on the expressway and no express service on the Parkway side. Go right on Highway 24 to Garden City. $2 all-day parking includes pit pass. There!
Yeah, we're searching for a feeling here on Motormouth Radio today. Ray Guarino with Joe D, wingman, co-host, and confidant. And in the studio with us today, the one and the only Jimmy Ruocco from Freeport Auto Wrecking and Operation Splash. Jimmy, great to have you. We haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah,
thanks for being with
guys?
us.
I thought I knew where this basement was, but I got lost.
Well, we don't advertise it too much because otherwise certain people come looking for us.
Yeah.
That's right. They've done that.
And you can't hang up on them when they're on the door.
Yeah, that's true, too. Yeah, it's frowned upon for the other stuff.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
They come with the battering rams, you know?
So, yeah, here we are. This was typically, just to mention, we usually don't mark time, but this is Mother's Day, and we usually used to do our Mother's Day extravaganza. Of course, Chris put all of that together, and it was something that I haven't reached that pinnacle of success yet. So maybe in the future.
Yeah, usually the mouse actually bites me, so like the whole editing thing is just not me.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe, yeah, right.
I'm glad you mentioned that because somebody told me this morning when they stopped by the yard, they said, don't forget, if you're going to be on the radio, you have to say something about the mothers. And I says, oh, my God, I'm not that politically correct.
All of our listeners are big mothers. We know all of them.
I know a lot of mothers.
Yeah. Right. And we celebrate them just as well as everybody else. But that's... so happy Mother's Day to all the moms and
same here,
everybody out there.
Yeah, thanks, Ma.
Yeah,
just basically thanks for letting me live.
Another plate of sauce and ziti and
gravy. And feed me too. Yeah,
feed you too, right? So what brought us to today is this event, Jimmy, you're doing. We'll jump right into that first. I think Operation Splash is involved in this Freeport. This is your copy. This was I had a copy I marked up.
Oh, did you? Yeah,
I marked it up.
Here's mine marked.
Tell me about...
Your marks are different than my marks.
The Family Water Fair on Freeport's Nautical Mile. Tell us about that, please.
Okay, this is one of the... this project is called the Living with the Bay project. It was first started by Rebuild by Design about 4 years ago. Nassau County, nothing on Long Island was included in the project. And last minute, they pulled out about 6 months after the project awards were given out. They entered Nassau County with Interborough into a competition, and they end up winning this Slow Stream project. And basically what this turned out to be is fully funded, well, to the extent that there is money there. It's about $125 million that's backed by Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, and HUD's paying the bill, to develop methods to slow these streams down in storm events, so that we don't get that backwash from the rainwater coming down the streams and then the tidal surge on the other end. And then what happens is you get an inland surge of water and flooding. Very typical of all the tributaries on Long Island. And on Long Island, if you've been on Long Island for a while, years ago, there was a stream every 300 yards. I mean, and every canal that you see, especially like in Freeport, the end of that canal is fed by a stream. Most of these streams went underwater. The Mill River runs up from Hempstead Lake State Park, Southern State Parkway, around Peninsula Boulevard there. That's the northernmost part of the tier. And Hempstead Lake Park feeds down into several ponds with some dams. There used to be mills on that river, grist mills.
Okay, yeah.
So there was a lot of dams.
Run by the water power there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
okay.
then the history is the Brooklyn Waterworks took it over because they wanted to get more water into the city, and then the water levels were dropping. There was all kinds of reasons, and they kind of gave up on it. The grist mills all got torn down.
I have to say, just to interject, growing up in East Rockaway as I did, we had in Memorial Park the grist mill. And I never knew what the heck it was as a
there's
kid.
a couple of bars that are still named, Mill something.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of them. I didn't know that. We have an historian on our Citizens Advisory Board, so Art Mattson, and he when I first looked at everybody's credentials, I go, well, what are we going to do with a historian? It turned out his stuff and his maps are probably the most valuable that we have. I just recently took one of his old maps and overlaid it onto the Mill River south of Sunrise Highway and realized that all these homes in Oceanside along the riverbanks are sitting on top of what was another part of the stream.
Right. If I remember correctly from living there and picking up some history, Ocean Avenue as we know it was not originally a road. That was, I think, Ocean Avenue followed
the border follows the stream.
It was the
exactly.
stream,
It's so winding. You know the area really well.
Absolutely, and they just moved it. I don't know what year that was. It was in the 1800s or something.
The East Rockaway High School, which is at the tail end, we call that our middle tier. The southern tier is actually once you get out into the cove by the fishery over there.
Right.
And that whole ball field was the stream.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was all filled. On the other side of that, opposite, on the other side of Pearl Street, all of those homes over there are in a river floodplain.
Yeah.
Years ago, the water tables were low. The sewage treatment plants went online. They dropped even farther and farther and farther. And then a lot of people in East Rockaway and Bay Park say, whenever they do any excavation, they dig up garbage because they probably just dump. And then one day somebody says, this looks like it's high enough. Let's get some sand on top of this and put in some houses.
Yeah.
So all of these houses are now, it's almost a lesson of what not to do.
Sure.
It's probably one of the most developed tributaries. I call Long Island Nassau County and Suffolk County. I don't really consider the Queens as more like the city.
Right.
But
They usually tell me that.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm a Queens boy.
you're a Queens boy.
Yeah.
That's a whole world that's a whole country in itself.
Well,
Planet.
Brooklyn is a country.
that's true.
Any place you go in the world, you tell them you were born in Brooklyn, they go, Brooklyn? I know Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I got somebody that lives there.
Right. Yeah. Pizza.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's another planet right there, that place.
So, actually, it was first termed slow stream. So the idea was to hold as much water in reservoirs as you possibly can. That was number one priority. So that on super high tides, and like Sandy was like a trifecta. It was a high tide, full moon, and hurricane.
Perfect storm.
That tidal wash just sits there and then inundates maybe a half a mile. It could be as much as a half a mile inland, depending upon what the geography is like. And obviously the stream riverbeds. Well, Freeport, we flooded in Freeport north of Merrick Road, 5 feet high, and 2 blocks away was 17 inches.
Yeah.
And I met with a FEMA guy because I was writing up their community center building for flood mitigation, and he says, I don't understand it. Somebody's got the picture wrong here, because these people are telling me it was 4.5, 5 feet high at Roy and Gates.
Whoops.
And a couple of blocks away, it was 17 inches. I says, you're living in a riverbed here. The Meadowbrook corridor's going up here. This is where all the water's coming from.
Right.
So this particular Living with the Bay project is to create greenways, swales, open access, recreational, but that's not the priority. The priority is basically flooding and water pollution. And all streams on Long Island are subjugated by our storm drains. Everybody thinks our storm drains is because we have a steel cap and a metal grate, that everything underground is a complete system.
Oh, yeah.
There's no system. It heads to the nearest stream. So whatever goes in there ends up in the stream, ends up in the bay. Eventually it all goes to the bay. Anything like
It doesn't magically
mid-county
disappear.
down,
No.
it doesn't. So when you go out there in the bay and you see all this garbage, you go, where is it coming from?
It's coming
what you
from-
just threw out your window.
Look up here in Garden City. It can
Yeah.
start up here and end up down there.
For sure. Definitely.
Have you ever tagged anything to try and follow its path to see if you find it? How long you'll find it
You
later.
know, it's interesting that you say that because I always dreamed of just getting a zillion rubber duckies and label them
There
all.
you go.
And then see how long it takes to get back.
Yeah.
But all of them point to the bay. As a matter of fact, there was some tagging going on. It's interesting when we were doing the total mass daily load grant study for Bay Park Sewage Treatment Plant. All the environments were advocates of the fact that this place is not flushing. We're dumping our treated sewage right into Reynolds Channel. And when they built that plant back in the 40s, they says, look, it's Reynolds Channel. It's going to go out Atlantic Beach and it's going to flush out into the ocean. Nitrogen levels went ballistic. Pollution was really bad. The plant has only got a nitrogen issue now, really. That's the hardest thing to get rid of.
Yeah, nitrogen.
So that's where all the seaweed's coming from, which decays and rots, goes to the bottom, creates ammonia and blah, blah, everything you can name it. They tagged that effluent, and it was about 600 tags. And we have maps showing that after 4 tidal changes in 3 days or whatever heck it was, that only like 4 or 5 of those tags even made it out of Jones Beach.
Oh, wow.
So
they all stayed in.
I don't know how we would tag the stormwater, but we have kids, Splash is educating kids from 4th grade up, and part of their project is to identify their storm drains. Then they tag them. It says, this leads to the bay. And as they get from one class to the other, they actually get to, with maps, we get to find out where their storm drain empties into the bay. And then they adopt a piece of the bay, actually. Really.
That is cool, yeah.
That plays right into the whole outfall pipe issue, correct?
But if Poland Springs is listening, you guys make the best tags anybody can have, because every other object out in that bay that's a plastic bottle is Poland Springs. So I think we need maybe $1 deposit on those
Maybe
things.
we need Poland Spring as a partner in this to help fund the cleanup issue.
Well, if they're listening, they should partner big time.
Yeah.
You know, now they have the little green leaf on the bottle because they're environmentally friendly, so the bottles are lighter than they ever were, which means now you don't need a half an inch of rain. All you need is a drizzle, and they run right down the street into the storm drain, and we pick them up in the bay. Talk about shoveling you-know-what against the tide. That's it.
Absolutely.
So Poland Springs, you guys, I don't know how many millions of bottles. We have people arguing over their water bills that they want to spend another $4 or $5, and then they go into a 7-Eleven and they buy a bottle of Poland Springs for $1.
Yeah.
It's like there's something wrong with that picture. We got to wake up.
But, could you imagine as a kid even going out and buying water?
No,
you
so we had
stuck
a
your
hose
face in
for.
the hose.
You know, when I was a kid, my mother
we didn't
actually
even use a cup.
My mother actually bought this little device that she screwed onto the spigot outside, and it was a little fountain.
Yeah, I remember those.
Because all the kids would come over and, can I have water? Can I have... No, yeah.
It's better than waiting 20 minutes for the warm water to get out of 50 feet of the hose.
Right.
Yeah, seriously.
Exactly. It comes right out of the tap, yeah.
So this event that...
this is next Saturday, by the way.
Yeah.
That Tetra Tech, GASA, Government Office of Storm Recovery, New York Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, and HUD, they're kind of like the lead planners on this thing, so we're still in the planning stage. So public comment is really, really important to us. Otherwise, you know, the government will have its way with trying to find out how to spend this $125 million, and we really want to get the pulse of the community.
You need the awareness, which is hopefully this will drive up.
The hardest part of this project, as a CAC, Citizens Advisory Committee member, is when these projects get broken down.
I need a dictionary for you. This is like your world with acronyms here.
Yeah,
I'm horrible at acronyms. I'm going to get it all wrong, but I'm hoping that a lot of the people that I'm talking to don't know about this, so they won't know how screwed up all my analogies are.
Well, let me say that if people want to call and get in on this, they can get us at 516-572-7440, and you can ask a question, because we don't all know this stuff, so ask Jimmy. And
I just learned the whole boatload just in the last few minutes.
Oh, you know, that's the thing, Joe. Whenever I go down to the junkyard, and we are going to talk about the junkyard, too, and stuff that Jimmy does. You talk to Jimmy, you want to say one thing, and then by the time I leave, I forgot what it was I wanted to say in the first place, because we've gone to so many different levels. Jimmy is not only a very intelligent guy, and that's kind of something that people don't associate with guys who run junkyards. And we're allowed to say that now because Jimmy's here. You know, it's not a recycling center.
That's when I speak, that's my oxymoron. It's like, we got to listen to this guy. This guy is an environmentalist, and he owns a junkyard. How can that be? That doesn't make sense.
But you have a very environmentally friendly junkyard.
Yeah. Yes. As a matter of fact, we just did a whole bunch of, I don't know why I get picked for these things. I don't even like the way my voice sounds over the airwaves, but Nature Conservancy asked me to help them with one of their videos. They put me in a video, Jim Solution. If you go on natureconservancy.org, there's 11